Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast is Critical Blast.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Dean Zachary, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we go beyond politics, beyond calculation, and beyond the big two. Join us each and every Wednesday. Don't miss out.
Hi, I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Silverline Wednesday Night Wham! Hosted by Scott Wakefield!
Hello, everyone. It is Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host tonight, and my job is to wrangle the crazies. We are going to discuss our favorite and the top independent comic books and graphic novels. And as usual, we will stay strictly on topic, never diverting left or right. We will discuss them at length with astuteness and an acumen not found anywhere else on the interwebs. How about those words? Those made me sound smart. Huh?
I got to look them up. Hold on.
Yes.
No.
I'll give you a second.
How do you spell
astuteness?
Astute? Astute?
That's good.
Estate.
We're gonna
Acumen, that's the one with the needles. The acumen.
You're right. Yeah.
That's acupuncture.
Woo, that's good acumen. Thank you.
I'm still on the astuteness one. Hold on.
So tonight we will be discussing that topic. If you're joining us, thank you. And we welcome your questions and comments always. They do not need to be about the particular topic du jour. They can be about the industry. They can be about the craft. They can be about our ideas. They can be about writing and all this sorts of stuff. And we will try our best to answer them.
The very first black and white cat and mouse book by Malibu was actually a colored book. So Yeah, so then we're not going to, the Kablam's not going to print it, but they're going to do a PDF version of it, a digital version. Plus, I think Roland kept all of his scripts and stuff where I think he hand wrote the first issue.
Hand
Yeah, and so he's going to scan all that in so everybody can laugh at him and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
We can talk bad about him because I think he's on another podcast right now. He's on
Yeah.
another stream, so he's not watching. So let's
see the
talk
chat.
That was
about it.
pretty funny. He talked about that on Sunday Funnies. On the podcast interview we did on Sunday, he actually had them in hand, like as if to prove to the world. Yes, he wrote his scripts longhand.
Yes.
But he predated technology. I'm fairly certain typewriters were around by then, but I didn't want to say anything.
No, yeah, he keeps all that stuff. He's got
Quill.
yeah, he's got a quill and he dips it into the ink and all that kind of stuff. But no, he's even got some books that he did when he was like a little guy, a little man. I get it, Roland Mann, little man. And yeah, so and he's got all that stuff too. He saved everything. It's pretty cool.
It's gonna be worth zillions. It's got it all. That's cool. So if you back the project, you get if we push past these stretch goals at certain levels, if you back them, you'll get these kind of very cool nostalgia and inside peeks at the origins of Silverline, which is awesome. Which is really what I love and what I talk about the most is with crowdfunding is you get these options to kind of be part of the family, and really by backing it, you become part of the Silverline family, and we love that. And I'll repeat, if you are here tonight, join us in the conversation, ask your questions, and share this video and share the Kickstarter link. We got 3 days left. The better these campaigns do, the better Silverline does, and we're able to keep creating amazing stories. And we are, as you know, we are an independent comic book publisher. We're going to work on defining that, and there's no question about Silverline being independent because everybody agrees small, not beholden to any other corporation or anything like that. But we'll talk about that. But support the independent publishers. There's numerous other publishers out there and folks that are also supporting us, and we try to spread the word. We've had our creators on other shows, and those shows are usually associated with printers and publishers, and they're making amazing material. And the independent presses are able to create new, unique stories and characters that you wouldn't find with the big guys. So that's my spiel. About the midpoint of the show, around 10 o'clock, we have a review from Wayne Hall. So stay tuned for that. And as always, when we wrap up, we ask you to follow us on the socials and check out our websites. And we'll get to that. And we can talk a little about that now as we introduce ourselves. I'm going to go straight to our visual artist right now. And Andrew, if you don't mind turning your microphone on and say hello and tell us what you are working on.
Yeah, hi. I'm AJ. I'm working on a book for Silverline called Wolf Hunter, and it was written by Tim. So we're both here. Right now I'm about six pages into the book, and it's 22 pages, 24 pages.
Yeah. I'm running it shorter by today's standards, so it's 22 pages an issue.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, I'm working on. I'm just penciling right now. A lot of cool shadows and stuff in this scene, in this sequence going on right now.
That's very cool. Thank you very much. Of course, if you're watching this, you get to see the sneak peeks again of how the comic books are made, and it's really cool to see the very beginning of the artwork. You don't always get to, it's neat to you hold the comic book, that's great, and you get the cool paper and all the art and all that sort of stuff, but to see it starting with the raw pencils and to know that that's like Tim's brainchild communicated with AJ and coming to life, and I know it's a thrill for Tim unless he is a soulless, joyless individual. But I'll let him tell us if he is. Tim, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Soulless, questionable, joyless. I would hope not. But yeah, I'm Tim TK. I am the writer / creator of Wolf Hunter, and I am the associate editor at Silverline as well, so I help work with the website, all our blog scheduling, and I am the project manager for our craft blog series.
Are you able to enlighten us, give us any hints about what he's drawing right now? If you can tell us.
So, Wolf Hunter is it's not an alternate history, it's a secret history style spy story set during World War II. And this is a bit in the sort of darkest point of the protagonist's life to point, as he is recovering from an injury while in a hospital in London.
All right. And can you tell us who your protagonist, your hero is? Or
he's a completely fictional character. His name is James Willard, and he is a RAF group captain.
All right. It's very exciting. That's cool. Okay, let's go. Brent, you're at the bottom of my screen. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Brent Larson. I'm the creator and writer on the Silverline book, Kalis. And I always run out of stuff to say at this point.
Kalis 1 and 2 are out, right?
Kalis 1 and 2 are out. Successfully kickstarted. And I think number 2 is in April. And we are looking to do 3 and 4 simultaneously at the end of the year. There'll be more of that as it develops. I've seen Lewis has done the first 5 pages of issue 4. It's looking fantastic. Got a double page spread. I can't wait to show you guys. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
That's awesome. I had a question. Before I forget. Well, go ahead.
I live in Orlando, Florida, and you can find me at brent.vector on the Insta.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Tim, where are you? You're all the way over on the...
I'm on the left coast to best coast. I am up in Oregon, and you can find me on everything at Tim TK pretty much.
Thank you. Brent, yeah, I want you're saying about number 3 being done, right? I mean, pretty much other than the fine little details.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention that Silverline's policy for our Kickstarter campaigns, I keep saying Kickstarter, crowdfunding campaigns, is our products are done. Very often with crowdfunding, you are speculating, and you may not get a product with certain projects, and that's the nature of it. People need backers to do R&D and all that sort of stuff. But Roland has made it his policy that the project is done, and that simplifies his life and everybody's lives at Kickstarter or at Silverline, because pretty much once the campaign, if it's successful, it's send it off to the printer and fulfill those all the orders and then the extras and the goodies that people get, and so it makes everything simpler. But when you are backing that campaign, you are pretty much pre-ordering your comic book and any extras that you choose to get. So that is Silverline and crowdfunding. Let's go to speaking of printers, Tommy. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Thomas Floramonte Jr. Everybody generally just calls me Tommy. I have been in the comic industry, business, whatever you want to call it, for about 30 some odd years, early 90s when I broke in. I've done a bunch of stuff with Roland Mann and the Silverline group from the very back in the day. Some of the original cat and mouse stuff. I inked Demon Tales and just various other stuff. But I've worked for Marvel and DC and Malibu, Ultraverse, Chaos Comics, all kinds of different stuff. And I'm currently, I was going to say I'm currently inking, but we have now done inking. The Trump's book, I'm the inker on it, and all the pages are done, colored. I think Roland is about done lettering, And right now I'm working on another project. I'm working on the champion Miss Fury. Miss Furry. I keep saying that.
That's a different
Furry.
convention.
That's a different book. And until I'll do an issue of it, and then we'll jump back on the Trumps Part 2 and finish it up. And I'm also the co-owner of Kablam Digital Printing, which prints pretty much all of the Silverline books and almost everybody else's books that is not Marvel, DC, mainstream, not indie, mainstream. So since we're talking about indie, we print a lot of indie books.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I gotta keep commenting on the artwork for the two current campaigns. I mean, all of our artwork is amazing. It's all different. Everybody has their own styles, which is really cool. But the knocking out 48 pages of Trumps and the whole team, I think, really clicked, really gelled. It's a great looking book.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It looks really good. So I'm proud of it. It looks great.
Lots of good stuff. So not right now, but we encourage you to go to silverlinecomics.com, check out all of our titles, and you can see the span of styles and art that we have. How about C. Michael Lanning? Go ahead, tell us who you are.
I'm C. Michael Lanning, coming to you from the hunting grounds of the Rougarou, also known as Louisiana. I am currently a scribbler for Silverline Comics on one of the coolest projects, The Rejects, with head honcho Roland Mann.
Hey, do you practice this? Because you're good.
Sometimes. Now that I'm doing the co-hosting on the Comics Newswires on Fridays now, so I gotta step up my game.
Yeah.
He just practices his monologues at his kids.
Sit down and listen to me. You got your jokes on the 3x5.
It's about presentation, you know.
Yep.
I'm like in a debate. I got my notes here.
Right. Yeah, Mr. President, Mr. President. How about I'll shout at all of you. If we'd like to have a debate reenactment, please.
Oh, let's not.
Yeah, I need a hammer. I can hit myself.
Hey, we already lived through that once.
It's not. Oof.
Okay. I think that's everybody, right? And then just me. My name is Scott Wakefield, and I help with publicity poorly for Silverline and do my best. If you have a show out there, if you want to help us publicize our books, we'd love to chat, and we will help spread the word about your projects. Of course, we share the love. And I am co-creator and co-writer of an upcoming title called Steam Patriots. And as we speak, I think I'm literally as we speak, my good buddy Dan Hosek is coloring, and hopefully we'll have some colored art to show you soon. All the pencils and inks are done for that, and my buddy Rory Boyle is out there somewhere in Florida. He co-created, and he's helping me write. He is going through trials and tribulations of being active duty Coast Guard right now, so he couldn't join us. And I live in Western New York. It is beautiful in fall here. We're getting lots of rain. So my introduction was not nearly as polished as C. Michael Lanning's there. I'm gonna have to take notes. So he set the bar.
Be only one.
Here now.
Well, see, look, since Brent came packing a couple of weeks ago, I gotta make sure that my game's right there, you know.
What did I pack?
Good.
Your introduction. You don't remember your introduction? You don't.
No.
I thought you bought a gun or something. I'm like, I don't remember that. Like, what? We're bringing
Keeping it
weapons
strapped
to the stream now. I don't have anything.
Things interesting. So, raise your hand if you want to go first, because I want to start this discussion, this chat about how do we define independent comics? Who has an idea? Everybody talk at once.
Let's say I think the way I approach it, and my straightforward, is as long as the property is independently owned, kind of regardless of publisher. If the original creator still owns the rights to the property, it's their independent project.
So creator
Creator-owned. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
That's good.
I
Probably
like
is
that
early,
one.
huh?
Yeah, I don't think I can't think of anything that would really contradict that or really add to that. I think that's actually a really good definition.
Excellent.
So when? Okay, that's it.
Well,
Good night, everybody.
Discussion. All right. Good night.
with a few exceptions, it also encompasses kind of a zeitgeist. that
Yeah.
says we are not about straight up licensed superhero action. And if we do have superheroes, they are not, the stories are not mainstream.
Right.
So
You're not seeing your Supes or your X-Men. You're seeing Invincible.
right. And Invincible is a superhero book, but you would never see anything like it in Marvel. Not really. And I think Marvel and DC both are trying to shake up their game for, I would say, for a new audience, but I think they're trying to maintain their old audience. And that's fine.
But would you think of like the Walking Dead comic book as an independent comic book? I mean, I guess sort of, kind of.
Well,
but
it was
kind of. I don't.
Well, I thought it was indie, and then it just suffered from being too popular, and so that now it's everywhere.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Is independent synonymous with unpopular?
Small press, but yeah.
Small press. Yeah.
But I think it can also mean small press, but I think even like indie movies, some of them just do so well they blow up.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing can happen with a good indie comic is that given the right numbers of quality, timing, and just random luck in the market, it can blow up as well.
Wasn't Karate Kid an independent movie? I know it was a sleeper, but was it kind of
so?
No,
I think there was they had I forget what the people behind it knows that it was a major motion picture, wasn't it? It was just kind of small.
I'm trying to think of a really popular independent film recently, and I wasn't prepared.
It's all right. Well, I also have the problem where all movies are also Marvel.
I mean, are we talking about like books that are non-Marvel, DC, Image?
I'd say, even Image though, like it's Image is creator owned, whereas Dark Horse isn't. So you can have an Image book that, like Curse Words, where it's good but doesn't get any traction because it's all up to the creator to do all the marketing.
Yeah. Image, they still have to do their. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, somebody put it like you just said. The definition is pretty much if it's not Marvel or DC, and then Image, Dark Horse. No.
I wouldn't consider Dark Horse too indie because they're not creator owned. Same with 82,000. All stuff submitted there is owned by the company. So you just do work for hire. Yeah. You're not actually creating your own creator-owned idea.
So you still would throw like Spawn and Savage Dragon and all that kind of stuff as an independent comic book. By your definition, I guess it would be.
Yeah, because right? I mean they've had the same creator this entire time, or at least
they still own it.
Yeah.
Eric Larson has anyone besides Eric Larson ever done Savage Dragon?
I don't believe so.
Not the main book. No, more Savage Dragon's been in other books, but yeah.
So technically, it would be an independent book.
Yeah.
Because he's doing his own book, right?
I would agree. I mean, really, but it's kind of like when you talk about The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is, it's published under Image, but it's also what's the studio's name? Skybound.
Mm-hmm. Skybound, yeah.
Right. Which does other things too. And I don't think Skybound as a studio is really big enough to go be outside of being called an independent studio in itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's really Image kind of seems like it does if it's not its own proprietary title, just aggregate smaller publishers.
Yeah. Yeah. Shadowline, things of that nature.
So then where does the point come where they get too popular, and then you're a sellout. Where's that line? Where's that line? Do they stop becoming independent, or are they just really popular independent and they're not corporate hacks anymore, or are they?
I would love to have that problem, by the way.
Yeah, no, it'd be a great problem to have. Yeah.
You're a hack and a sellout. You've made millions on the backs of real creators. To which I would say, yeah, I'm gonna go buy another car now. I'll see you guys later.
Did you sign your checks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's so hard to say because, I mean, at the heart of things, a comic book creator wants one thing more than anything else. He wants people, or her, they want someone to read their books and enjoy them. They want lots of people to read their books and enjoy them. If you don't want that, then frankly,
what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? I mean, why would you even be doing a comic book? You would just be happy to write, draw it yourself, throw it in a drawer, and maybe give it to your parents at Christmas time. I have no idea what you would do with that. But no, because creators instinctively want an audience, and that's a good thing. They have ideas, they have stories, they just really want to share. It's the drive that makes them do it all. So why would you punish someone for doing it so well that they got a lot of people to do it? That's crazy. That's a crazy, awesome problem to have. So,
right. And
well, it is a lot of work. So it is nice when people get other people appreciate the stuff you do, even if it may be a smaller group, because it's not a big selling title, but at least somebody's checking it out and liking it.
I think
it's fun.
Yeah, I think when I was thinking of movies, I think kind of to kind of translate well to what to the film kind of discussion we're having. Cloud Atlas with Tom Hanks is an independent movie. It's distributed by Warner Bros.
I believe.
But it's produced by Tom Hanks. That's there's no big overarching company actually handling the production of it. It's just distributed through someone else, which is what happens to all these creator-owned titles.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest complaint that that people have, or at least maybe that I perceive, would be is that transition from if you can say you're independent and you're not beholden to anybody, but if you do make it big, then you've got all those people that now are putting in their 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can hold on to your product and it makes it in front of the millions without being watered down, that's great. But very often is everybody comes in and has to put their 2 cents in, and then it's no longer what it was. And your original fans, your diehards at the beginning, that's where they say, oh, you gave in, you gave up your project. And I can see that.
When it's no longer just the creator's idea.
Yeah.
It is funny how rabid fans can get about something to the point where they feel they have the right to speak into it.
Right.
I think it's the George Lucas syndrome.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, who can ever say you watered down your message? I mean, I suppose it is obvious to some people, but at the end of the day, really, the artist has one person that he or she has to be beholden to, and that's him or herself.
Yeah.
And there are some artists who are eventually going to get around to saying a message that people might not like. And then at the end of the day, they have to ask, was I still speaking the truth? Stephen King says something I think is actually profound. He says a writer, and I think you would probably say artist by extension, their one job is to tell the truth. And if you are working on something and calling it your own, you do kind of have an obligation, not just to yourself, but to the people who are going to read it. They're going to see an unfiltered look at what you think about whatever it is you're writing on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any other motivation, like you want to sell a lot of books or you want to get sponsors or whatever, that's something that you're going to have to square with. And eventually can come down on you pretty hard, especially if you do get fans who are going to suddenly start pushing you to take their demands seriously. And if you have a precedent for doing that already, then suddenly your work's just not going to be terribly noteworthy or relevant. How could it be? It was written
Yeah,
by Indy.
I wonder how is it when you have a story in a written form or sequential art form, and it's incomplete and then gets made into a film.
Mhm.
How do you turn off did J.K. Rowling or Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Martin.
When we get to like, if you talk about individual picks, I got the perfect example for that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how do you stop thinking, okay, my book, my book is going to be made into a movie. How do you
Mhm.
stop writing it to fit fit the movie? And that's got to be difficult to stay true to either your original intentions or your outline, or maybe you didn't know where the story's going and it got picked up to be turned into a film. That's got to be difficult, and know that I'm going to write this will not fit, and they're going to change it for the film. I don't know. Maybe when you're writing, you're sitting on a pile of money, you don't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, Brent, all of us, I'd love to have that problem. I'd love to really struggle with that.
Yeah.
Well, in J.K. Rowling's situation, that's easy. She basically, I think, just demanded to be an executive producer, which probably meant that she got to greenlight
Everything
across her desk.
Yep.
Yeah.
She had the power to do so.
If she didn't like something, she just says you can't put that in the movie because it's that something comes up in later on in one of the other books.
Right.
The reason that she was able to pull that off is because the books were so popular, so ahead of the series being finished. And had they been finished before, she wouldn't have had to say one way or another. It wouldn't have let her.
Yep.
The author of World War Z, and I wish I knew his name, but when they made the movie, he said there are three similarities between my book and the movie: the word world, the word war, and the letter Z.
Max.
Yeah, because that was a bunch of little short story kind of.
Yeah,
Which
and
the audio
barely
version of that was
stories.
awesome.
They were more like
Mark
description of
Hamill.
scenarios.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't really stories. It was little short essays kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like accounts of this new world, and it was a lot of fun. But what's
They were.
interesting, that's a great example. That is a really good example. What's funny is World War Z has like 6 credited screenwriters, which usually means it's going to be a train wreck.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was good, and part of the reason is because the people who ultimately made the decision realized that this thing in its essence is unfilmable, but we can make it filmable by taking it and making it a movie. As opposed to, in the past we were talking about why do certain comic book translations not work, and the reason is because it adhered too closely to the comic, in which case that's bad. But if you can make it your own as a film, and that's what they did for World War Z. So why are we talking about this again? What was the question?
Thinking about, we went all the way back from giving up your independence possibly for large sums of money, and then losing control of your project, and then possibly losing your original from day one rabid fans, and keeping them happy, but while possibly making lots of money.
I was just reading an article here that made the statement that an independent studio is one that's not owned by a bigger corporation. Like Image is not owned. Image is self-contained. Dark Horse is also self-contained. So those are considered independent companies, and everybody does have creator-owned rights. But when you have like IDW and Valiant, they're owned by a bigger corporation, so they're not indie. They're just a subsidiary of a bigger company. So I'm gonna take my IDW books and put them over here.
Who owns IDW?
Idea and Design or something. They said who it was. I didn't know. It was a company I don't know anything about. I don't think they're gonna own it for very much longer. But
doesn't AT&T own DC? Does that mean DC is an independent group?
AT&T owns Warner Bros. Owns DC.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No, that means they are not independent.
Yeah.
At all.
So then, someone define for me alternative comics. Is that still a term we use? Or I know underground is probably an old term because that's usually the beginning of something that's contrary or an alternative, and then underground kind of becomes above ground once it becomes popular.
I think at that point, that's pretty much just like one or two people direct from hand to consumer, like old school zines. Schlock Space Mercenary by Howard Taylor, I think would be one of those. It's just one dude who does I think it was a daily comic strip that it would get collected into 22-page issues that get collected into like reviews, but every day you got 3 panels of a comic that kept getting updated for 20 years.
Wow.
That's dedication right there.
Yeah. So that would be alternative.
I'd say it'd be alternative or underground because it's literally just one dude direct to consumer, nothing at all in terms of oversight.
Interesting.
Because I never knew what was alternative rock or alternative music. Like, it's funny because it's just another term, like with movies, independent movies, and then they became a genre.
Right.
And it's like what was the studio that did all the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and what was that studio? Then they they kind of became mainstream but an independent, and then I mean like oh my goodness.
Nowadays if you want to create an independent movie you have to submit to A24.
I don't know.
Yeah. They're essentially like if you make a movie and it's halfway decent at a festival, they will buy it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
No, is it no longer independent? I don't. It's funny. Like, where's the who says?
I think if it gets made independently of the studio, it's an independent film.
Okay.
But if it gets picked up and then
like if they purchase your script and they have to go through like film by committee, as opposed to buying the film outright after it's been made.
Right. Okay.
Right. Like isn't that what Sundance and Kansas?
Yeah, Sundance and Kansas are kind of two big ones. Even Orlando Film Festival is pretty big, but you have the as a film writer, you can submit a script for review at the panel, or you can submit a full film for one of their categories, and either one has an option of being picked up by somebody. But because
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But that it just came to mind. Clerks was an independent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Which is probably a good example, proof of concept. Basically, Kevin Smith didn't ask someone for money to make it. He made it himself. And when he made the film, he then distributed it himself, which is to say he showed it everywhere until finally he found someone who was willing to back its distribution himself. And that's how it got seen by people. That is what an independent, like I can write a script and send it to a contest or send it to some executive. They won't look at it. But if I write a script, get my friends to shoot it, and we just start getting it into festivals or crazy luck, get it into Sundance, where all they do over there is buy stuff like that. And maybe Netflix approaches me and says, we'll give you this deal if you'll let us have, license your film. And that's how it works.
That's pretty much there's no question that's independent. So those are the clear cut. That's good.
Yeah.
So who wants to start us with an example of an independent comic or graphic novel that they've enjoyed?
I kind of talked about this, but I had it goes into what we were talking about in terms of getting bloated into a movie. But I had just recently gone through and reread Wanted by Mark Miller, published through Top Count Image. And that was part of Miller's self-contained universe called Millerverse, which is also everything that Mark Miller writes, he puts into this one universe. And that's all his property. So he
Is that
created.
Millerverse or Miller World, or is Miller World something that came later?
I think I'm not sure. I heard.
Miller Time. I'm sorry. It was dumb. It was stupid. Don't laugh.
I think it was. I'm not sure. It might be Miller World. Either way, but it's Mark Miller's projects. And it's a really weird, different take on supervillains in a post-superhero world. And very violent, very bloody, very not appropriate for a mainstream publisher. But he had a very intentional point he wanted to make with all that. It comes in at the end. And I think that happens a lot more with indie comics than with the bigger publishers, is because you can write, say, I want this comic to only be 6 issues, therefore it is only 6 issues that I don't need to worry about next year's run or getting picked up for another volume. He can just decide that it's going to be 6 issues, this is the point I want to make at the end of it, and it's going to be all contained here. And it's a fun time, it's great. And then when they got turned into a movie with James McAvoy, it was not the same story.
Really?
Oh, the graphic novel. The graphic novel is about superheroes and supervillains, because I watched the movie. I never read the.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was based on a graphic novel, but I mean, actually, I enjoyed the movie.
I mean, the movie is still a fun time, but yeah, yeah.
Okay, I gotta read it now.
Curving the Bullet.
Yeah, Curving the Bullet was never mentioned in. Yeah, in the book, Wesley Gibson is known as a killer, and his superpower is he can just kill anything. That's his superpower. He can just kill anything.
So basically, all they did was just get the name and
pretty much, yeah. I got the name and the basic concept of the fraternity. And I guess they had plans to kind of do more with supervillain stuff in the background. But it very much felt filmed by committee. Like, okay, none of this would work in a film. How do we make this appropriate for the mainstream audience? Whereas, if you read the project that is just Mark Miller's writing, I feel bad not saying the artist's name, but I forgot his name. But it's very much appropriate just for fans of that medium.
I'm looking up the movie as well as 2008.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I never saw it.
What's his name?
But even though it's through Image and became a movie, that's still, in my opinion, that's still an independent comic because it's creator owned. It's owned by Mark Miller, and it was his.
Right.
J.G. Jones. J.G. Jones did the art, and it was him and J.G. just working through it the entire way through. No one else could touch on it until it went off to a publisher. And it is Miller World.
Thank you.
Yep.
Huh.
So, what is? I don't want to put you on the spot to have to think too much about it. But was it because it was just open and shut, done, story done? Is that what appealed to you?
Was the I'm a fan of anything that's super violent. I like the John Wick movies. But also is that the fact that it was a different take on supervillains, and the fact that it was just I wrote it over a weekend. But if someone had a free afternoon and just wanted to read it, I appreciate a good graphic novel that you can sit down and read over the course of an afternoon. I believe entertainment bloat is something that's very real. Is in comics and video games, especially right now. The creator of Punisher talked about this, where if the bigger publishers want to boost their sales a lot, they would just consolidate to one running title for each team. So you wouldn't have a lot to do. Because when you look at the people buying it, you do have your kids, whatever, but the majority of sales in comics and games are people in their 20s, 30s, and we're all working jobs.
Yeah.
I don't have time to sink another 150 hours into Witcher 3.
Right.
Right. Huh. Yeah, that sounds about right. Huh.
I like that.
But-
All right. Go ahead. Did someone else have a question?
I didn't.
Okay. Who's got another example? Give us a graphic novel or independent comic book that you have enjoyed and why.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I might have talked about it before, but I loved Lock and Key. We established if IDW was independent. Is that okay for me to say Lock and Key?
I believe Lock and Key.
Actually, we established that wasn't independent. But I like Lock and Key. I feel like he independently wrote that, so
we'll allow it.
Because I think that was Joe Hill, and I believe he pitched them the finished comic.
Well,
I think he still has creator rights on it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Joe Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did walk on to the last episode of the show too, so I guess he's in there somewhere. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And part of the reason the hugest reason was, and this is what I think is why independent comics has so much going for it, is because it was very character driven. And this is always a question that creators are faced with when they're going to start a new project. A lot of people say, is it going to be character driven or is it going to be plot driven? And I believe that one of the problems that mainstream comics have to deal with is the licensed characters are so well known to their audience that the creators don't have a lot of places they can take them anymore. Therefore, the only thing they can do is start throwing new scenarios at them and new problems and new girlfriends or this or that. And then it becomes largely plot driven. And those are pretty interesting to read a lot of times. But a cool thing is if you're telling an independent story with characters who, for all you know, could die in the next few issues or disappear forever. And it could happen because they're not licensed. The fans aren't going to write in and demand that you resurrect this character because they don't know the character yet. All they've got is what you've told them so far. Start to love those characters. They can really start to enjoy them. But they also get a sense that those characters will not be with them forever. And there is, for that reason, a heightened sense of gravitas to the writing in the storytelling. And that's where I think independent comics really shine. I love, Brian K. Vaughan does this better than anybody, in my opinion. When he tells a story, I know that he knows where he's going and he will get there and he will stop. And for that reason, his narratives are so much punchier. I know that I'm gearing up for something that has serious weight in terms of a style.
Right.
And he hasn't yet, bow to the pressure of the fans to do Why the Last Man again. I mean, that story is done. You can stick a fork in it. It was sad, it was powerful, it was memorable, and it's done. And that, in my mind, makes a story powerful all by itself. And that's where independent comics, I think, are really where they can even edge out their mainstream counterparts. I mean, Wolverine's gonna die again one day, but then he'll come back.
Yeah, that's I kind of like what I mentioned, but just the fact that you can have that final point in a comic where the narrative is going to have some sort of theming that works on all levels and will actually come to a head at the end.
Yeah, exactly. That is, and as a creator myself, what am I trying to say? I want to reserve that right for myself. Kalis is my first book. I will be the only one who ever writes it.
Right.
Because I know how it ends. the thought of someone else writing it and ending it their way makes my skin crawl. It is unacceptable to me.
Roland didn't tell you about the spinoff that he and I were doing?
Right, yeah.
It's called Lake Hess. Yeah. No.
Lake Hess.
Yeah. It's and the reason is because there are things that I want to say to the audience. If I still have one by then, we'll see. And even if it's my wife and my sister, it's all good because they're going to know where I was going with this, what I'm trying to say, and I will say it. I will drop the mic and I will leave the building. And no one else gets that privilege. If they want it, I will encourage them to go and start their own book.
Write their own comic.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can you imagine what that would be like for, and you know what, I love mainstream comics, but like a guy like Dan Slott, who had such a great distinguished run on Spider-Man, he had his final issue, but even was he able to say exactly what he wanted to say before Nick Spencer took over and started doing whatever he with it, in which case it just feels like some power that got lost somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do like the you get the really weird moments where if you have writers like Warren Ellis who approaches Marvel and says, I'm going to do a graphic novel of this team, and you can't say no because I'm Warren Ellis.
Right.
Yeah.
But I is the fact that independents are so small that I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's not as much to lose if you piss everybody off. I mean, if Marvel, I mean, they've got stakeholders and all these people and the whole universe, their whole universe, that if someone they can't do the crazy thing. They can do a wow or emotional, or I mean, the movie's spoiler can kill Tony Stark. But that's because that has to happen because Robert Downey Jr. and all of them they actually age. But there's that everything you said, Brent, is it's freeing. It's freeing because you are writing this story and you do with your characters as you want, and you know, maybe I will upset you, or maybe I will bring it to the conclusion that you, as the reader, as the consumer, really wanted. There is a great freedom in being smaller, agile.
Well, I'd say almost kind of from an editorial viewpoint, it's almost kind of the opposite. Whereas in indie, we can't afford to piss off like our 1,000 readers, but Marvel they can hemorrhage 1,000 and they're still making bank. But that means that we have to pursue.
It was, but
yeah, but well, they set a record last year, but we have to pursue quality more so than other publishers.
That's true.
So we can piss them off in a way that they still feel rewarded at the end of the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need to kill off your main character, then
sell it.
You can. You can do whatever you want. Like what's the guy from Game of Thrones when they you think that if it was popular then, wasn't it? No, it was the first book. So I guess it wasn't as popular. But you would think, Ned Stark. You think he would have if he had was into the third or fourth book and it was all the HBO things. I mean, he was super popular and stuff. You think he would have been okay with killing them off like they did? I mean, it was strong. It was great.
Yeah.
But you think that could have, or would he have gone? Or like if you kill Harry Potter off in the third book or the fourth book?
Right.
I guess you wouldn't call it Harry Potter, but I guess you could.
Well, it also comes down to like the story you're telling. Like when an indie or when we pick up a title, it's Kalis by Brent Larson. It's not Kalis owned by Silverline. But when you look at like when Wolverine died, Wolverine is owned by Marvel. So even though that writer has their run on X-Men and they're like, okay, for this 2 years, this is my story. Kill off Wolverine quarter through the first year. He doesn't touch the comics for another 2 years. It's still Marvel's comics, so next year, they're like, okay, we want to do something else with this, so we hire on a new writer. The new writer's like, okay, I want to tell my story on X-Men, but I need Wolverine.
Yeah, when he comes back, he comes walking in the room, and where were you? Oh, I just left. I just came back.
I was in the multiverse. It's fine. We have
That's right,
600 of
yeah.
these Earths.
No, that was the clone Wolverine. That was not the real one.
That's what happened with Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And Chris Claremont, they killed her off. They didn't want to kill her off to begin with, but they kind of they called their bluff on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to kill her off. And the editor went, great, that sounds awesome. Wait, I guess we're going to have to really kill her off now. Years later, Chris Claremont got word that they were bringing her back. No, we killed her off. So, you don't have. He had the intention of killing her off when he did kill her off. So there wasn't the intention of bringing them back. So
yeah,
I think that's why that at that point in time still carried that punch.
Yeah.
Now you kill Superman off every couple of years anyway.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
We needed to bring him back
at least
with teal
Jean Grey-
kryptonite.
Jean Grey, they waited quite a while.
Yeah.
I think they really intended for her to be dead. I
Mhm.
remember I was a kid when I read, holy cow, they're bringing back Jean Grey. Funny thing was I wasn't around the first time when they killed her. It was a huge event, but I didn't mind that they were bringing her back. Oh, this is exciting.
Mhm.
Yay, I love them. But
So-
one thing I was going to add was I feel like independent comics we as creators don't have to worry about pissing off our audience by killing characters, because frankly you kind of want them to be mad if someone they love died. I mean Sir Arthur Conan Doyle got hate mail for killing Sherlock Holmes the first time around.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing was that not only was he able to bring him back, but he was able to send him off in the sunset. And it was all good.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was he did it in a way that was smart and that honored his fans. And independent comics aren't really marketed to kids. We're marketed to adults who have adult sensibilities about what makes a good story. And when they're being pandered to, and when they can thing is going, but they're along for the ride, and when they're mad because they already know everything you're about to tell them. They know a lot of this stuff. So it's almost like if I want to tell a story where there's true sense of loss and regret and sacrifice, but I'm pretty sure I will say the fans, I don't know if they exist, but my fans will be happy because I gave them a good story. I honored their intelligence by giving them a good story. I think that's all they want.
Yeah.
Well done. We've got a question. We can maybe answer this after. We'll do our review here. So Tim, if you want to have that ready, why? Oh, and let's answer this afterward. And maybe it's not a complex question, and I'm just going to show my comic book ignorance. Why do the big guys or most comic book stories not adhere to chronology? Because I feel like, and I want you to tell me why I might be wrong, you could solve a lot of these problems if we start our story in 1989 and we tell it until they all get old, unless they're timeless, and die. And then we can kill them all. They can get old and die, whatever. End it, start it over. What is the thought process behind not doing that? And so, because most don't, unless I'm mistaken. But that's my question. Okay, all right. And we've talked about the good and the bad. We lost Brent and we lost C. Michael. They are both exhausted, have to head to bed. So we're down to Tommy, Tim, and AJ. He is penciling, and we are looking at Tommy's screen right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Tommy, what are you inking right now?
This is the next project I'm working on. It's and I'm gonna say it wrong again. It's Champion. We don't have a title for it yet. It's Champion and Fury. And this is Champion is this guy right here. He's a fireman, and I hadn't got to the pages of Miss Fury yet, but this book is penciled by Peter Clinton. Call him Pete. He's usually on the Sunday show. You've seen him drawing it on that show, but let's see if I got another page. This is page 1. There we go.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Got
cool.
I think it starts off in Chicago, and I think somehow or another, like most of Roland's books, they end up in New Orleans somehow or another.
Sure. Yeah.
But
You know he's a superhero when his chest is the shape of a Dorito.
Right. I love it, and I'm geeking out here, and I love being part of this because I get to see. For those of you watching and joining us, I'm seeing this for the first time, and I love it. I love it that
it's super cool.
Sneak peek and to see an untitled comic book in the works. That's so cool.
Yeah, they don't like it, but I call it Cham Fury is what I normally call it to them, and Roland doesn't like it.
Cham
Fury, copyright Silverline Comics.
That's right. I think that's what. Come on, everybody, let's get on to Roland, and we're going to call it Cham Fury.
Hashtag Cham Fury. Get it trending.
That's right. But you can see that. Now this is a character that I inked before. He was in the first run of Demon Tales that I inked way back in late '90s, I think it was. That was published by Malibu Comics, and this is there we go. C, there is a big C, champion. But he's a fireman.
Oh, on his belt. Okay.
On his belt. There we go. I wasn't. Yeah.
Cool.
Big
Maybe
C.
that can be some of our Silverline swag. We can get a big C belt.
That's right. We can all wear a big C. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Kablam also prints metal, right?
We do.
So I want to get to our topic here in just a moment, but I wanted to let Tim tell us what AJ is penciling over there, because I think his project's cool, and I wanted to talk that up a little bit more.
Sure.
So go ahead.
So right now, AJ is penciling Wolf Hunter, which is our secret history World War II spy story, following a RAF group captain as he is sort of drawn into the world of counterintelligence. The page he's on right now is that group captain kind of in the dark night of the soul, as he is in a hospital in London recovering from a pretty grievous injury.
And that is coming up sometime. Silverline. Yes.
At some point, it'll be available for your money to go to. Please, I need to pay off my student loans. Help.
Please send money. We the Silverline lineup is growing and growing and growing. It's awesome. It is incredible, and which is why you might see. We might ask, why are we doing two books, two stories in one project? That's because we want to get these stories out there. We have to do them two at a time, so we can get them in your hands, and we won't have these this long list. And it's because we are very much the embodiment of an independent publisher. Mm-hmm. We are very small. Roland does the lion's share work for these Kickstarters to spread the word, create the goals, do all the updates and all this sort of stuff. And he puts a lot of trust in us yahoos to be here to be his advocates and ambassadors to the interweb world and do these shows. And I don't want to forget, there is a Sunday version of this show, and then there's a Monday night one-on-one as well. So please go like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. And Roland even has Silverline on LinkedIn. So if that's that's where you hang out, go check out the content we put there. And he spreads the word, does a great job. And but as the small publisher, we're getting these stories out there, and we want to do a great job. Which I think every Kickstarter campaign and every title, they get a little better, and we're creating a really cool Silverline world, which I don't want to give anything away, but I think we have a lot of titles that are going to start overlapping to create the Silverline world. Am I saying too much there, Tim? Or
I'm saying that we already got some alternate and secret history going on. Maybe we could get some time machines going.
There we go. I think the Silverline world is going to keep growing. So thank you all for helping us create that. Now, so we're talking about independent comics, and graphic novels and what stories we've really enjoyed. And we talked about the definition of what we call independent stories and the limitations of the indies, and then the freedom that comes from them being small and fluid and agile that can tell really cool stories without necessarily being beholden to a committee. And I don't say that disparagingly, but it's just the nature of the differences. And independent comics, yes, are limited usually by the creator and the creative team doing just about all the work, the promotion, the distribution, all this sort of stuff. And it's a tough slog, but when those stories can get found out, they're pretty incredible, and they have the potential to be a hit and to be unique, not to be a rehash or a regurgitation of another superhero story of the same hero and villain. And I don't mean superhero or supervillain. I mean the same protagonist and antagonist that's just redone with a different outfit. Independent comics create unique characters and unique storylines, and very often very gripping problems that aren't always a love interest or on the scale of huge superhero supervillain problems, or the smaller day-to-day problems. They can be really poignant and really what's the word I'm looking for? Relevant problems that can be sometimes timeless and sometimes stuff that people are dealing with right now. So it's a neat place to be as an independent. And of course, we all wish as independents, to hit it big. But that's just to get our story out there, to be in front of more faces. So we talked about a few titles, and we kind of joked about how often if they get made into a movie, they make it big. Sometimes they stay true to the form, and sometimes they just become completely different. Like Tim's
Wanted, going
Wanted.
from the post superhero supervillain story to James McAvoy curving bullets.
Right. So, and Wanted, I guess I never saw it, but mixed reviews, and some people enjoyed it. But
That's fun.
Different. My example was World War Z. The movie was enjoyable. Brent liked it, but not like the book. And Brent is a screenwriter, and he's talked a lot about how the difficulty of taking a comic book or a novel, the written word, and what sequential art does, a comic book, and then making it into a movie. And sometimes a straight adaptation works, but very often not. It has to be changed to fit into a film format. So that's we've talked about that quite a bit in other episodes about the problems turning comic books into films. The titles we talked about were stuff that the reason we like them is it seems like there's more meat to it, and they've touched us emotionally. Tim likes, you said you liked a little bit of not a little bit, but you like the gruesome, the violence, and and that doesn't always fit mainstream. It's tough for because the big guys want to have a very mass market appeal, and you can't put yourself in that violent category or edgy, or a comic book might deal with specifically female issues or guy stuff. You want to have that overarching appeal in the big guys, but as an independent, you can write to this audience or this this individual, and that individual, hopefully it's more than one reader, but they're an example of a crowd of readers. So that's the beauty and the good part of independent comics. Tommy, tell us a little about what you create, your own personal creations, and why you like your characters and why they resonate with you. And I know in previous episodes you've said you don't delve deep into their deepest desires and their childhoods because you keep it lighthearted. But I know you've created your characters and you put thought into these guys, And what do you love about them? And it
You
makes want to
mean my own creator own stuff? Yeah.
your stuff. Yep.
I do more when I'm not doing, mainstream type superhero-y kind of books like this, or the Trump's books, or, when I'm doing work for hire kind of stuff. When I do my own stuff, I do more all ages kind of fun, cartoony, animation looking stuff. I try to think of when I like to do stuff that I would think that I would see as a cartoon on, your Saturday morning cartoons, which you guys are you probably don't remember Saturday morning cartoons like I do.
I was raised on X-Men and Transformers, sir.
Yeah, but so when I do my own stuff, it's kind of like what the guys back, you see it's more of your manga anime kind of chibi, is that what they call it? The two head high kind of
Chibi.
Chibi, whatever, that kind of thing. Just real cartoony kind of stuff. And basically, when I do books on, I bring my friends and stuff into my books, because I back when I first started doing comics, when I started breaking in, I'd go to shows all the time, doing the Marvel and all that mainstream stuff, and my wife, my buddies, I'd bring to the shows with me whenever I'd go, and they'd sit behind the table, and I'm like, I ought to do a book and put them in it. And then, that way they can help me sell the books and all that kind of stuff. So I started doing, caricature versions of all my friends and stuff. And that kind of led me into doing now Zomboy is it's not about zombies, but it doesn't look like me, but it's a cartoony version of me as like a 6-year-old in elementary school kind of a thing.
I see the likeness. I see it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got a big old head. I guess that's probably. and then little Nay here is my wife. That's a real cartoony version of her, and then we got our puppies and stuff in it. And I just like to do fun. Some people. When I do my own creator-owned stuff, I like to try to, I have to like it to do it, but I try to make sure that it's something that, because there's a lot, we talked about this a little while ago, it's a lot of work doing these comics and stuff. So I do want them to sell. So I kind of try to, maybe I'm a sellout, maybe I'm not, I don't know, but I try to, if I'm going to put all that effort into doing stuff, I'd like, for other people to get it and like it and think it's fun and all that kind of stuff. So I try to keep it all cartoony, and I really like doing books for kids. It is kind of creepy that a big, because I'm 6'6", I'm a big tall guy, and then I'm at the shows doing these little cartoony books and stuff, and the moms walk by and they go, what's that creepy guy? But then when my wife comes and she sits behind the table and she's selling her Little Nan Soso book, they sell pretty good. So I love doing cartoony stuff. I'm a big cartoon person, and I get that from watching the cartoons as a kid. It's your Saturday morning cartoons. Always love my Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. And you're joking about being a sellout, wanting to sell. I mean, if you don't want your stuff to sell and you're just writing it to for yourself or a friend, fine, you can be really weird or really obscure, and so be it, and maybe just keep the inside jokes so inside no one else gets them. But if you want it to sell, you've got to identify your ideal reader and who you're marketing it to, and it has
you're trying to market it. That's the word that I didn't. Exactly. Yeah. It's the market that it's a lot of work putting these books together, especially when you're doing a book all by yourself. When you're writing it, penciling it, lettering it, coloring it, putting it together, doing all the stuff. That's how many times when you're doing your own book do you look at that one page? You've already looked at it about 5 or 6 times. You get tired by the time you get to lettering it, and so you better like what you're doing, but
because you're going to try to sell it, and then you got to tell people.
Oh, and then you're going to take it to all the shows and all that kind of stuff, and
it's
so
a story about. It's a story about.
Yeah, exactly. Over and over and over again. But the story of Zomboy in pretty much all of the stories are basically, you know, when the kids are when you were a kid and you played, you know, I know this is not politically correct now to say, but you weren't playing cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a Calvin and Hobbes kind of
That's cool.
kind of thing where, but instead of cowboys and Indians, it's superheroes and bad guys and good guys, and they're just they're first graders. And I think this is kind of a question you were asking earlier about about people aging and stuff. You know, they're always going to be in the first grade. They're never going to get out of first grade. It's always all the stories. They're all 6 or 7 year old kids, and they're all little cartoony. Everybody that's in my books are my buddies and friends and stuff. Even the bad guys, and some of my friends get mad that I make them bad guys, but I got to, I just have to tell them, and like, somebody's got to be a bad guy. Right. You knew that before you asked to be in the book. You may be a bad guy. You might be a good guy. I don't know till we get to it, but yeah. That's all my kid hero line of stuff from Inferno Studios.
I love it. Yep. And you hit the nail on the head with saying as an independent, it's you doing all of it, and but you get to maintain the creative control of it, which is a great thing. Brent commented in the last hour about that, the feeling of giving up your characters. If you created them, if you've been, you're living, you live the lives of them so much more than people see, because you've created a little bit of backstory, and you're thinking, and you've created, you know them, how they feel and how they react, and that might not always make it into the story, but there's so much of them and their world that's in your head. Well,
I kind of cheat. Because we in past streams we've talked about how what makes your characters do what you do. It's like, well, in my books, I'm just based my characters off of my friends, and so I'm just thinking, well, this is what he does. So I'm gonna when I'm writing the voices of them, I'm like, oh, this is him talking. So I'm trying to make it sound like. And when they read the books, they go, that's what I say all the time. And I'm like, it's you. Of course, it's what you say. I just drew you. I didn't make up anything. This is you. But you drew me getting beat up. I'm like, well, you got beat up. I'm sorry. Well,
I love it.
I had one friend that I made their character a bad guy, and they got really upset with me. They were like, "Do you really think I'm a bad person?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "But you made me the bad guy." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, you're the bad guy."
Yeah,
but you must think I'm a bad person. And I'm like, no, I don't think you're a bad person. You're in the book. You want free copies? Let me give you some free copies.
I had this conversation with someone. Like, if I thought you're a bad person, I would kill you off, pretty recently. But if I like you, then we make you a bad guy, because everyone loves a good bad guy.
Yeah, this is a secret we don't want everybody to know. But in the Zomboy books, the main bad guy is my wife.
No one heard it. No one.
Nobody. So if anybody sees the evil Megamind in the Zomboy story,
love it.
Don't tell anybody. That's just between us four, right?
Right. Yeah.
We won't breathe a word. Not a word.
No. Now you know.
So Tommy, you mentioned I had asked a question before the break, and I rolled right over it. So my question was, and your cartoon stays firmly in that first grade year, and it will never change, and that's fine. The Simpsons, I think, is funny. The Simpsons have been on for forever. Yeah. And they used to do flashbacks like into the 70s when Homer and Marge were young, and then they stopped doing flashbacks for a long time because it just didn't work. And then there was a flash forward to, I don't know, remember the episode where Lisa flashes forward, she's marrying a British guy. I think it's Hugh Grant is the voice. And I don't remember what year it goes to, but we passed that year. And it's fine for a cartoon and that sort of thing. But my question is in the comic book world, and we can use the big guys, Because as you know, in an independent comic, my Steam Patriots is going to go chronologically, and that keeps it simple for me. I'm going to go, it's going to follow history in 1781, and it's going to wrap up in 83, and then it'll be done. So in the comic book world, where they're putting out one a month, and they've created their world so huge, they have to continually reinvent. And I use Iron Man as an example because Iron Man's been my comic book. 1963, he's in Vietnam, and then they have to adjust because you can only say Tony Stark was hurt in 1963 for so long until you do the math, and you're like, wait a minute,
yeah,
Tony Stark's 72 years old. They have to keep reinventing. So why not make it chronological? Make it fit. Every comic book is set in a time. Now, Brent answered this question during our review. He didn't answer it in front of everybody. He made a good point of wanting the comic book to feel timeless. So if you had a chunk of comic book that took place from 1984 to 1994, that wouldn't feel relevant to somebody later.
Yeah.
But my thinking is I feel like you could get over a lot of problems of killing characters. How long do you keep them alive? How do you reinvent them? If they lived, if time flowed in a normal fashion. So I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on that. I'm kind of thinking out loud here because I don't have a reason.
Yeah.
I've got my, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit, my perfect, the reason why I keep all the characters that they're always just going to kind of be in the first grade is, in the 6 or 7 and that kind of age, is because that works with my universe, right? So, this is when they're playing in their it's all in their imagination. It's a group imagination, and they're all, together. So it's like when they go into the superhero-y world, everybody has their own part. But, it's like once they get a little older, I mean, how, are you seeing teenagers playing, like I said, I know this is not politically correct, but playing cowboys and Indians when they're 16 and 17? No, it's the little kid type of story is the background. Does that make any sense? It's actually the universe is that time period of their life, and then just all the stories are just going to take place, while they're in the first grade kind of thing, because that works for their, it's when kids usually have that crazy imagination. So that's for me, that's the reason why they're always going to be at that age.
Right.
They're not going to get any older, but then it's the little kids and stuff. I'm not going to make them. People are not going to be dying off.
Right.
So.
You don't have to. Yeah. Like, I mean, Phineas and Ferb have been living through how many summers?
Yeah.
And have never.
Exactly. Yeah.
Never grown up.
Well, my go-to thing for all things really to the big two is X-Men, because that's what I've read by a long shot the most of. And a lot of that early art was done by Jack Kirby, who was super into big computers and sort of timeless science fiction looking stuff. So things hopelessly advanced as well as incredibly classic. So there's the joke that comics are stuck in the perpetual state of the far future of 1992.
Yeah.
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 But with X-Men, you kind of get that ideal really kind of comes to power the most, because you have characters like Magneto, who is still just a super yoked. Now he's more of an anti-hero, but still looks very much in his prime kind of dude. But he still always has that baggage of being a survivor of the Holocaust.
Yeah,
because they don't necessarily want to lose that, because it's such a defining part of the character. And a lot of what he meant to a lot of people.
Right.
So they don't necessarily want to kill that. So they kind of just keep it stuck in this timeless space that seems like the far, far future of 1992.
Right.
And that you can even look back at how Stan Lee and all those guys thought about comics and roles that heroes served. I mean, Jack Kirby very much got into it to give people a sense of heroism and hope, as well as to get people to actually want to join the war against the Nazis. That's he literally fought Nazis with comics, but but he wanted to give people that kind of sense of hope, and there's a winning shot in everything. And Stan Lee also thought that every kid, every person needs a hero of some sort, regardless of what age that kid is in. So when you have characters that are as classic as Wolverine and Cyclops, who fit these archetypes so well, they just reinvent it every time so it's this next generation's X-Men, which is going to feel a little different from the previous generations, but it's still an X-Men for that generation.
Right. So
that being said,
now,
with chronology now, they are doing a lot of introducing new characters to the Marvel Universe, where they're saying that metahumans age very slow, but now they're like, now that if you look at mainstream X-Men now, it's all new characters.
Do you think that
could it also be a money thing?
Could also be money.
I'm thinking that's probably more so. They go through all of the effort of building these characters up, and then all of a sudden you get like just recently you get I mean, it's not recent, but like a Deadpool or whatever. He's fairly new, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of in the modern age of comics and stuff, but all of a sudden you get somebody that becomes super superhero, super popular. You can't just go killing them off. Your shareholders are going to get all mad. All of a sudden the money is gone from this character that they could have made millions off of, and you're going to just kill them off for good. Yeah,
gotta milk it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the big guys are they're stuck. They're stuck doing it. They can't. They've got so many, and you've got so many overlapping. Like you've got this character that his storyline has been rebooted, and if he overlaps with this storyline that was rebooted here, how old are they? And you can't answer those questions. That they have to be middle age or a teenager, and Spider-Man is always young, but so I think that comes back to our discussion of indie comics. You can make that choice, and you can make it make sense.
I had this discussion with at our writing meeting the other day, workshop type thing, and we made the analogy that with indie comics, you can in fact have the hobbits throw the ring in Mount Doom. There can be a definitive ending point.
Yeah, it can be done and done. Yeah. I get it. I get why they do it. I kind of feel like maybe if back in the 60s, Marvel had said we're going to do it chronologically. Everybody's this old, and year by year, but it just got out of control, and you can't just go back and retroactively change it. So yeah, I get it, and I don't think I'm firmly in one camp or the other, but I feel like there would be lots of problems that would be solved, because if you could bring them back and start them over every decade. I don't know. It would clear up confusion, and people wouldn't be frustrated with reboots in the middle of this series or that. I don't know. So, anyways, that's just one of the big problems that the big guys have to deal with, and us. At creating our own creator created content, create our own content. We can do what we darn well please. Pardon my language. I'm getting heated. So we're coming up. We've actually blabbered quite well tonight, and we're coming up to 10 minutes before 11 on the East Coast here. And does anybody have any parting thoughts about pros and cons, what they like, what they don't like about the independent world? I will start with a con. The big money's not there. We'd love if it was. Sometimes it is, but we appreciate everybody who supports the little guys and our efforts to create unique stories for you. So thank you, everybody. Anybody else before we start wrapping up?
I think
go for it.
Oh yeah. It's entirely possible just to appreciate everything for what it is. Like if you like more character-driven stuff, more there's going to be a definitive theme and point and end to something. If you appreciate maybe something more experimental, you got your indies. Maybe if you just need something that feels a little more safe, or if you just need your typical thriller, typical action adventure, or you just want some really fun scenes, go to your big two. But it's entirely possible just like everything from comics, but indies I feel like you're going to get a lot more of the really exciting moments. Something's going to change stuff up by a lot.
And you're getting creators who are taking chances, and those chances might be colossal flops. And you can be there, for it, but you can also be there, hopefully to watch them grow. And just look at the visual art of our comics, and you can watch the artists, and I'm meaning the visual, the pencil, the ink, or the colors. You can watch their art change and adapt. You can watch their forms. You can watch our writers and our stories grow from their very infancy, and that is a really, really cool thing to be a part of. And you can reach out to us. You can, on this show tonight, you can talk to us and ask questions and get our feedback and offer feedback to us, and quite possibly affect our storytelling too. It's a really neat. You don't have that level of access. You don't have that level of intimacy with the big guys, and it's a cool world to be part of, and it's fun. I do these because I love to talk to these guys, and I learn something every time we talk, and I love being part of the Silverline family here, seeing what people are creating and seeing the ideas that are bounced around for picking up titles and having a little bit of a teensiest bit of input. So it's really fun. It's a cool world to be part of, and it gets me really excited about stuff that's coming down the line, and watching all these stories grow. Like the one that Tommy's inking right now. What's it called? Champ
Fury.
Champ Fury.
That is not what it's called, and Roland is not going to like that, but that's what I'm calling it.
The working title.
It's Champion and Miss Fury, but they don't have Roland hadn't come up with an official title yet.
That we'll work on it, and
Yep.
and Tim's story that's coming to life there visually by AJ. I love it. So I'll start wrapping up. We're currently running a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. If you have backed that, thank you very much. Your rewards will come soon after the close of the project. It's 3 days. We've hit our first stretch goal. We have at least two more stretch goals available. So help us hit those. Spread the word. Share the campaign, and tell your friends to back it and get in, be part of the Silverline family. And then we've got titles coming up. I'll go because I'll start to wrap up. My name is Scott Wakefield, and my title is coming soon. I'm co-creator of Steam Patriots.
You're going to have some stuff to see next week? Some colors, possibly? I want to see them.
Yeah, colored artwork from colors from Dan Hosick, and my co-creator Rory Boyle. If you're out there, hugs and kisses, and love you, dude. He's down in Florida. I'm up in New York.
Long distance relationship. I don't know.
It's tough.
Luckily, the Zoom thing works pretty good. So.
Yeah. It works. We stay in touch. So that's me. And if you want to follow me at Steam Patriots on Instagram, did I spell that right? Yeah, on Instagram and Facebook, that will be coming up. So let's go to you, Tommy. Wrap it up. Say goodnight.
Thomas Florimonte, you spell it Florimonte because nobody ever can figure out how to spell it. You can find me anywhere and everywhere on the internet. I'm mostly on Facebook, so just look for Thomas Florimonte Jr. I kind of post some of the stuff that I keep working on, all of the Trump stuff, and then now the Champion Miss Fury stuff, and we'll start working on Trump's number 2. So go to the I was going to say real quick about the Kickstarter. Think of Kickstarter as because it's really confusing. I have a lot of my family and stuff gets real confused when I send them over there. They're like, what is this crowdfunding thing? Don't think of it as that. Just go think of it as a store. Just go over there and buy the book from Kickstarter. I don't like when you say that, but just think of it as a store, and you just go over there and buy your book. Know it's going to come to you in a week or so. Just like anywhere else.
It's a pre-order. Yeah. Say it's a pre-order. All your books are already completely done. It's cruelty-free.
When you start throwing in crowdfunding, they go, crowdfunding? I don't know. This is confusing. I'll just get the book from you later. I'm like, no. Just go ahead.
We need the analytics.
You gotta go do it now. That's right. But anyway, Thomas Florimonte Jr. You can just look for me everywhere. And also you can go to Inferno Studios to see some of my Kid Hero stuff that I work on. And yes, that's it.
Perfect.
And done. Thank you. AJ, you are penciling down there. Tell us where people can find you and where they can follow you and see all your cool artwork.
Yeah, sure. So my full name's AJ Caicedo. That's Cassetta. I'm everywhere at Art of AJ Caicedo on Instagram. That's underscore between the words, and I have my own website, and it's mostly Instagram and my website. So if you want to look at anything I'm working on, private stuff, commission stuff, anything cool, like this stuff will be going up sometime soon, I guess, whenever we're ready. So yeah, that's
and apparently you're just hands, because we don't see anything else. You're just magic. Let me get off the.
He's just disembodied hands that make art. That's what he's good at.
Yep, that's all I need, my hands.
Yeah. There you go.
My face ain't doing me any favors. So.
Oh.
And Tim TK, why don't you wrap it up before we say goodnight?
I am Tim TK. I am the writer/creator of Wolf Hunter. I'm also the associate editor here at Silverline and the producer/seducer of the Wednesday night show. Find me at Tim TK Writer on just about everything. Tim Doesn't TikTok on TikTok, and Aggro Bacon, where I will be live not tonight but tomorrow night with some Smite.
All right.
Cool.
Gentlemen, viewers, thank you all. We appreciate you. I say this often, we wouldn't be here without you. We'd just be talking to ourselves. We love
do that anyway.
we love spending time yakking about comics. We love that you join in and you are part of the Silverline family. Go to Kickstarter, back our projects, the Silverline projects, share the URL, share these videos, like, subscribe, and all the things. You know how to do it. You know the drill. We appreciate you, and we will be back next Wednesday. In the meantime, there's a Sunday night show. There is a Monday night show. Roland Mann, the man, the myth, the legend, he does it all. Support, click, likes, and all those. So we love you all, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Make mine, Silverline, and good night.